Do you like science? Do you like knitting? If so, you're in the right place. My name's Tracy, and I am a medical laboratory scientist. I love science, but I also really love knitting. So this is my little piece of the internet where I'm going to share with you my experiences and some of my knowledge about what it's like being a medical laboratory scientist. My goal is to get as many people interested, or at least to know what medical laboratory science is, so that you can come join me in this fantastic profession. It is so much fun, and you get to do science every day. Part of what I'll be talking about in each episode is something medical laboratory science related. And the other part that I'll be sharing with you are my adventures in knitting and possibly crocheting. As things have happened over the pandemic, I've taught myself how to knit socks, and I want to share that with you because it's been a fantastic way for me to de-stress after everything that goes on in a typical day. So let me back up and let's talk about the medical laboratory science piece first. Medical laboratory science is the science that's used to analyze specimens when they come to the lab. That means when you have your blood drawn for your HDL and your cholesterol, or your glucose, or your drugs, like your antibiotics that we're checking, if you take a medicine for bipolar disorder, if you think you're having a heart attack, we can do certain tests to tell if you're having a heart attack. We can tell if your kidneys are failing. We can tell if your liver is failing. We can tell if you have meningitis. But we can also, in the hematology area, look at just a couple drops of your blood on a slide and instantly tell, do you have sickle cell? Do you have leukemia? Are you anemic? And there's so much that we can tell just from a couple drops of your blood stained on a slide, looking under the microscope. We can also tell if you have enough clotting factors in your blood. Do we need to give you something to help you clot so that you don't start bleeding everywhere? And we can also do cultures. So if you get your throat swabbed, send that off to the lab. We do that. If you are you have some other infection somewhere else, the doctor will send us a swab that has some of that wound material on it, or whatever they're culturing. They'll send it to us and we will grow it up. We will identify it. We can tell the doctor what bacteria or virus or fungus it might be. And we can also, in certain situations, tell them which antibiotic will work best. And we can also do genetic testing, find what mutations you have, or your child might have, and help the physician diagnose that. And we also can do blood bank testing. And when in the blood bank, as the name implies, we have blood that we get from a supplier that we keep in our refrigerator bank in case someone needs to be transfused because they have bled a lot. In the blood bank, in transfusion medicine, we can do your blood type and test your blood further to see if there's anything else in there that might cause a problem if you get transfused a particular unit of blood. And we can then prepare those units for you so that you can be transfused to get your oxygen carrying capacity back up so that you don't have a not so nice outcome with your visit to the hospital. Those are just some of the things that I can do as a medical laboratory scientist. And, over the course of these episodes in the podcast, I will be sharing with you more information about what it's like being a laboratory scientist. I have been one since 1994. At that point, it was actually called medical technologist, but the name in 2009 changed to medical laboratory scientist, which I think is perfect we are scientists, absolutely, and we work in medical laboratories, getting lab results to help physicians diagnose what ails you. What better thing could there be to do for your career? You get to do science every day. You get to work with cool instruments. Technology's always changing, so you're not going to get bored because there's always going to be something new that needs to be implemented because we want the latest and greatest in the lab, right? So, and in the process of enjoying what you're doing every day, you get to help people. And that's fabulous. I love helping people. I just don't necessarily want to be the person at the bedside doing the work there. But if you send me your specimens, I will do everything I can to make sure there is an accurate result turned out as fast as possible so that the doctor can treat you and get you better as fast as possible. So, a little bit about me. I mentioned in 1994 I became a medical laboratory scientist, but I have known since I was in high school that I wanted to work in a clinical laboratory. So, I asked my guidance counselor, what do I do? How do I get there? And she didn't know. She said, just do pre-med. So that's what I did. I did pre-med the 6 year, at that point, the 6 year bachelor's degree slash MD degree was in place at Youngstown State University. So I started with that. And I knew by the time I was finished with everything before I went on to medical school that that's not what I wanted. I really don't like necessarily dealing with sick people, but I want to help them and I want to do the lab tests. So after I graduated from Youngstown State, I got a position in a research laboratory at a hospital up in Cleveland. And it just so happened that the medical laboratory science program was right across the hall from my research lab that I was working in. So, you know, the fates got me there. And after the grant money ran out for the research job, then I applied for and was admitted to the medical laboratory science program and did a year of clinical training, learning the theory behind the tests and the disease correlation between what the patient looks like clinically and what the lab results are, and learning hands-on in the labs how to do the tests. So after that year, then I was able to sit for a national certifying exam with the American Society for Clinical Pathology and took that exam and then was able to, well, actually, I started working before that, but I've worked in clinical laboratories ever since. And, you know, as time goes on, I will share more about my experiences and my journey in my different roles from a bench level tech all the way up to lab director. And now I actually teach in a medical laboratory science program locally that, you know, is just so much fun. And if, you know, any of this interests you and you want to find out more, absolutely either leave me a comment below or send me a message. You can find me on YouTube as 20 Minutes with Tracy or on Instagram as 20 Minutes with Tracy, and you can message me in either place, I believe. But I will get back to you, and if there's any way that I can help you figure out, is this right for you, then I would love to do that. So let's move on to the second half of what I'd like to talk to you about, and that is knitting. Throughout the last 2 or 3 years, I've really started knitting more. I actually learned how to knit when I was in first grade. My mom taught me, and we had like a little ball of yarn that I believe we had a blanket that someone had crocheted that got damaged. So we wound up the yarn into a ball, and we didn't have any knitting needles, but we always had construction things around to be able to fix things when they broke. So we did have like spikes, like nails, long nails, like you hit them with a hammer. So I took two of those. My mom taught me the basic knit stitch, and it's pretty much been history from there. And it was kind of funny, another funny story, since I was using those spikes, and when I would take this stuff over to my grandparents' house, when we would visit, my grandfather would ask me if I was knitting a house. And so I always thought that was cool, and that always brings back fond memories for me. Both my mom teaching me how to knit and grandpa asking me if I was knitting a house. So at any rate, knitting, I didn't do it consistently since first grade, but just in the last 2 or 3 years, I've really, really wanted to try to knit socks. I've knit a couple sweaters over the years and scarves and that kind of stuff, but never socks. Socks always seemed kind of complicated. And I was afraid to do that little heel turn from, the top of the sock to the foot. I thought, man, that's got to be complicated. But about 3 years ago, I started my first pair of socks. And the first one went great. The second one, trying to think that I knew how to do it without following the pattern. I was trying to do it from memory, and I messed up somewhere, and it was obvious. I couldn't just keep going, and that kind of defeated me a little bit, and so I didn't touch it for several months because I didn't want to rip it back. But eventually I did. I ripped it back and figured out where I needed to restart and went forward and finished the socks, and I was so happy I made socks. So since then, I have made 5 more pairs of socks for a total of 6, and I have number 7 on the needles right now. And if you're interested in looking at any of that stuff, I have Ravelry pages that have everything there. And I believe right now I'm listed as Tracy Frankowski, so feel free to go look. But I want to share just 2 of my finished objects with you today. I have several whips, works in progress, that are on the needles, but I'm not going to be sharing those today. I also have lots of other finished project objects that I'm going to show you. And at some point, I will show you so that you can be inspired by how bad the first pair looks to how my socks look now, so that maybe that'll, encourage you to join in the sock knitting fever that's out there. My first pair of socks that I want to share with you are these beautiful socks. These are, whoa, these are the Cozy Autumn Socks pattern, which is free on Ravelry. And I think this colorway just goes so well with that. I love it. And the other thing that I did with the heel, I really like the slip stitch heel that Jana from Purl Together does. I think this is the second time that I've used her heel, that it's just a slip stitch heel here. When she does hers, she adds that slip stitch as a reinforcement all the way down for another inch or so, because hers wear out on the bottom. I don't know where mine wear out yet because I haven't worn anything long enough to wear them out. The heel itself fits really well, and I like the way it looks. So we've got the heel flap, the heel turn, and the gusset, and it looks so awesome. This pattern I did cast on 60 stitches using Chowgu needles, the US 1 2.25 millimeter, and I did the magic loop method. And Kay Litton she is the Crazy Sock Lady. She has great tutorials on her website and also on YouTube. so that um, you can follow along and learn how to do magic loop or double pointed needles or 9-inch circular. So I love her tutorials, but I also really like Jana from Pearl Together. She has a sloth series that she used for her Hermione's everyday socks, which is just, it's awesome. And she's so funny. I love her energy. The colorway is from a local dyer, and I apologize, I don't have her label or their label right now. But if you look on my Ravelry page, it is there. The indie dyer slash designer is local to me here in Ohio, and the name is Callius Designs, and I'll put a link to their website below the video. What's cool about their yarn, a lot of it is BFL, Blueface Leicester yarn, which is so soft and squishy. I just love it. But they have a unique concept for their colorway names where they name their yarn after historical women, which I think is fabulous. I'm all about promoting women. Women are awesome. Women can do anything. The fact that they are calling out these women and telling us cool stuff about these women and naming their yarn after these women is just, it's so awesome. I love it. They name a lot of their colorways after first ladies, and they also include other historical women, which I think is really cool. They do have subscription boxes available, so make sure you check that out when you go to their website. In the subscription box, in addition to the yarn, sometimes they, I think, will put 4 or 5 different colorways as minis in the box, but you can also get the colorways as full-size skeins, which is great. That's what I did. But they will include a little card with information about the historical woman that they've named the colorway after. And they will also include a couple other little trinkets related to the historical woman, which I think is really cool. So definitely check them out. But after all that teasing, you've been wondering, what is the colorway that's in your hands? Isn't it so cool? It looks so good with this cozy autumn pattern. When I saw the colors, I thought, oh my gosh, that is perfect for that. So this colorway is called Michelle Obama. Isn't it so cool? It has greens and purples and brown and gray, and I just think it looks so good with this pattern, doesn't it? It looks so awesome. I love it. So, Michelle Obama. Go to the website and see what else you can find, what other interesting women you can learn about at that website. So my other finished object is another pair of socks. And these socks are from another local yarn dyer, local here in Ohio. And that yarn dyer is Three Irish Girls. These socks actually happen to be one of their retired colorways. It is called Tudor, and you can see that it kind of looks like bricks. And I've been watching a lot of Time Team on Amazon Prime. Time Team is an archaeology show, and they talk a lot about Tudor bricks. And the color matches this really well. So when I saw this yarn, I thought, oh my gosh, I gotta get that. It looks like Tudor bricks, archaeology, yarn, science. Love it. But the pattern for this pair of socks is the Crazy Sock Lady's vanilla sock pattern. So she has a tutorial on her YouTube channel and her website to show you how to do this. This is my first pair using 9-inch circular needles. Again, I used the US 1 2.25 millimeter 9-inch circulars, and I think it worked out pretty well. Once I got accustomed to holding the needles, because it's a little bit different since they're so short. But it worked out well. I cast on 64 stitches and used the 9-inch circular until I got to the heel. Um, and then I used another circular needle to actually do the heel flap, heel turn and gusset, and then went back to the 9-inch circular for this part, and then used the magic loop method to finish the toe. So I did follow Kay's pattern. Um, on Kay's pattern for her heel turn, she has just 3 stitches to start the heel turn. Jana's heel for her Hermione sock tutorial has 5 stitches to start it, which the 5 actually fits my heel a little better, so I'm going to continue that instead of 3, but this actually turned out pretty good. I like it. Love these socks. Love the yarn. The yarn from Three Irish Girls is their Adorn, I think it's Adorn sock base, which is either 75-25, so 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, or 80-20. And I don't remember which, but if you check my Ravelry page, it'll have that in there for you. So again, I love these socks. They were so much fun to knit. My husband could not believe how fast these were working up, because they're vanilla socks and it's just knitting around and around in a circle. Um, but yeah, I love them. So that is all that I'm going to share for today. So I don't have any yarn acquisitions that I want to talk to you about because I'm trying to keep that to a minimum because I already have enough yarn to last me for about 3 years worth of projects. Probably next time I'll talk about my whips, my works in progress, and hopefully next time I will have in this bookcase back here, I will have my yarn stash so that you can at least start to see what that's all about. So, and I'll talk more about the different kinds of yarn that I have because I don't have all of it is not all natural fiber. Actually, a big chunk of it is acrylic, but I found some yarn that I really, really liked. So I'll talk more about that at another time. So thank you for joining me. It has been great talking with you, and I hope that you've enjoyed your time, and I hope that you will push that like button and subscribe to my channel, 20 Minutes with Tracy, if you like what you see, because I'll be sharing some more information about medical laboratory science and knitting as we go forward. So thanks so much. Bye.